today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome back to another episode of Shop Talk. Today we're discussing 812, where we saw the whole team sans Angela on deck for the sting operation. Monica helping Wesley out, and Luna starting to work towards figuring things out. We do have an episode description for 814, so we'll jump into the episode right after that. Do you want to take us through the
Yeah.
814?
Yeah, so for 814 it's titled Tiger Bear. Uh I know. I want to know how they're gonna like work that into the
Same.
like episode because sometimes they'll do it. They'll actually mention the title. So
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering if that'll be one of those times or not. But anyway, the description reads, a troubling incident at a school draws the team into a complex case, while Selena's temporary missing persons assignment leads her into a dangerous situation. And that will air April 6th. So a
I'm
couple weeks from now.
I'm all for a Selena episode, don't get me wrong. But
Right.
we don't need to put her in danger. I'm just saying.
No, I know. Yeah, I think I like put something like similar to that when I like tweeted it out yesterday. I was like, but why does she have to be in danger?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. She really doesn't. And the promo for next week looks like it's a Bailey episode, so which we kind
right.
of knew, but yeah.
Yeah. I just like not like John has to be involved, but like because like I know he was doing kind of like a ride along just because, but I'm like, why does he care so much if like she's with a rookie?
Right.
Like, what does that matter to him? Like, I
Yeah.
was so confused. And then like him being like, I'm a doctor, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this man cannot fool his way into like a medical like a scenario. Like, I really
No.
don't think so.
No.
Because
I
like
know.
Nyla was more convincing in the scrubs this episode than
Yeah.
like John would be, at least in my opinion. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, not saying he like couldn't figure it out or like act like he maybe, but like
Yeah.
just his face would give it away, I feel
Yeah.
like. So I'm interested to see how if he
Hmm.
can like actually keep a straight face if like
Yeah.
shit hits the fan.
Well, and like when I
So
watched the promo, I was like, John Nolan pretending to be a doctor.
yeah.
A lot of the time when he's a cop, things get screwed up. So
Mhm.
he better hope that he doesn't have to do any kind of like operation or
Right.
nothing on this patient. But it
Yeah,
looks like he will. So yeah.
probably. Because God forbid even Bailey, who actually has medical training,
Hmm.
do the actual do the actual
Yeah.
medical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm curious
yeah,
to know like how Nolan is going to get roped into it. Like,
yeah,
how is he doing the ride along? It
yeah.
just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, we got to have another Balin episode apparently. So
Hmm.
hopefully the B storyline though is going to be good with the team
Yeah.
recruiting new members. So
Hmm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but with that, we'll just jump right into the episode because there were two main storylines. It was a good one.
Hmm.
Like in terms
Yeah.
of the storyline, not having like seven different storylines or whatever. So
Hmm.
take
Yeah.
it away.
So it started off kind of interesting because it started off with um John is like talking to the LA FBI office about the op with Bailey. And then we'll also see like later Tim and Gray like talking just like a couple sentences about like, their part in the operation. But like as John's talking, it like cuts over to the start of the op, which is, Bailey coming home. And John picked her up from the airport. And as they're driving, they had a couple tails on them, but they have backup. Like their code name is Spy Games. We have Chenford as Tinker Tailor, and then like Miles, Nyla, and Gray are on board as backup if needed as well. Um, and so they ID'd one of the people as Reagan Dow, well, it says that she's an HR Pentagon person, but Bailey assumes that she's really an analyst. And the other guy's name is Hondo, Kurt Holmstrom, who was military as well, because everyone is connected to Everett, who worked, had the military company and was indicted for war crimes and all that. So, during the hail, I guess, the LAPD FBI task force deployed a truck to block traffic, which allowed Miles, whose code name was Sneakers, much to his dismay, um, allowed him to place the tracker on the truck so they can hear and see what uh, they're up to. And so, as Bailey makes a call to Garza, acting like they're going to meet up, she mentions St. Stephen's Hospital for the place, which prompts Reagan and Hondo to go there too. We see John and Bailey end up they're just walking in normal. They end up in what's called a safe room. It's just a normal hospital room. With Nyla at the helm, who's dressed in doctor scrubs. Close enough. Welcome back, Robin Charles. If you know,
Yeah.
you know. I
Yeah.
know everyone was saying that, so it was
I
funny.
almost tweeted that and then I was like, no, no. And then I was like, well, everyone
It was
else
so
is,
good
so.
though, because Makia is an ageless queen, so she
Hmm.
really just, I mean, it was
Yeah.
no time had passed at
Yeah.
all. So yeah,
Well,
so
and
it
it
was
was
great.
cool because last season, if you watch Chicago Med, she came back. And even at the
Yes,
beginning of the
that's
season.
true.
So it was cool to just see her back as Robin Charles actually, but then now this time in scrubs is cool. It was cool.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So we see Reagan and Honda meet in the parking garage, where Chenford's watching them as they meet up with two more people, for their team, Butch and Shane. And they mention that they're going to cancel Balin's tickets, aka eliminate Bailey. So they split up to track her down. We have the backup, everyone following, kind of tailing a suspect. Um, Tim and Gray are following Hondo. Nyla's got eyes on the man in the baseball cap. They don't know it's Shane yet. They haven't been able to identify him. Selena kind of runs interference and literally runs into Shane to knock off his ball cap. So now Elena, who's there with Garza, can ID him like she's done with the others. Um, in the midst of all this chaos, they lost Reagan for a second, who she had changed into nurse's scrubs and set up her, I don't know, I just wrote her own video feed of the hospital security cameras
Yeah.
so she could see what the FBI was seeing. Um, and Gray and Tim had Hondo for in their sights and were following him and everything. But then Gray's interrupted by Luna, who wants to talk, which is good and everything. I was
Hmm.
happy to see her, but I was just not now.
Yeah.
Because you could tell, because Gray was we're, in the middle of, we have this operation that we're doing, but obviously it's not like he can just spill his guts right there. So it's
Right.
just he has to kind of just, stay and
Yeah.
talk to Luna, but he tells Tim to continue.
Well, and there's
Um,
been so many other times when they can talk. Of course, right then.
right.
That's the best time.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so we see Tim continue on, following him onto an elevator where Hondo clocks him immediately for a cop. Uh, they fight, which is what was shown in the promo. They're each getting and throwing punches at each other. But Tim is victorious. Yay. They actually
Hmm.
end up since they're pushed around the elevator walls, it would release the elevator if they put it on hold. And then
Yeah.
they'd put it on hold again, it would release. And then so the last time it released, it made the doors open and them kind of knock each other out and fall
Hmm.
out. But that enabled Gray to help arrest him or put him in cuffs. And that, made him tell Luna they'll talk later because they're on and off. So he kind of had a way to pause their conversation and actually get back into
Yeah.
work. Um, And so during all this, Bailey's going stir crazy, just standing around in the room, telling John how she wants to be out there getting things done. And she wants to know what's happening because obviously it's she's the one that's only making the phone calls to set the trap, but like she's not actually communicating as much with the rest of the team, and
Yeah.
certainly not with like the FBI side of things in terms of what Garth is actually like wanting to do.
Yeah.
Um, so, but you know, John knows it's safer for her to be like there now. So they kind of like go a little bit back and forth. Like you can see that Bailey is kind of, you know, wondering like how can she like get out of this situation, or like how can she help more, but
Hmm.
John kind of is like, okay, you need to just kind of take a break, and
Yeah.
because like she's the one that lured what did they say, they're luring them by or no, she was like, we're hiding, and John's like, no, we're luring by
Hmm.
hiding. So yeah, so she was already just like agitated from the jump basically.
Yeah.
um yeah,
What did you
which
think of when she was like, but I would be better out there? Were you like, of course you would be, because you have to be involved.
yeah, I mean, I was like, I'm not surprised that she thinks that she should be out there. But then at the same time, I'm like, would that not be too easy in the grand scheme of or what am I trying to say?
Right.
Would that not be too easy in like the context of the situation, I guess, because she's
Yeah.
literally the target. Like, even though when the suspect group was out in the garage or whatever, you know, and saying they're gonna, you know, like cancel their tickets or whatever, but like
Yeah.
it really was mainly her. Like John was just shockingly a byproduct of like being Bailey's husband in
Hmm.
this scenario.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't, I just, I mean, it would have been like too easy because like they were going around the hospital, right? And you saw like
Right.
everyone, like, you know, look in the windows and like kind of, you know, check if there were like open doors, but obviously it's like a
Hmm.
hospital. So like you can't just barge into patients'
Right.
rooms, which is actually what I thought Reagan was going to do when she changed into the nurse's scrubs.
Same.
Like I thought she uh like had found them
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Um so I mean
And
I guess
they,
like good, oh sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say they missed the chance to have Luna come by the nurse's station and be like, I don't think I've seen you here before. Like that's
Hmm.
when I thought Luna was gonna show up.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Although that one nurse like did like run interference kind of
mhm,
just in a way of being like, who are you? And
yeah,
but you know, Reagan was able to like, you know, say that a certain doctor was looking for her or something, and so she better, you know, hurry off, and
yeah,
that like got the nurse to skedaddle. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think I was gonna say like it was kind, I guess, a good call for them to meet at the hospital because then they couldn't just barge into every
yeah,
room without, you know, obviously drawing attention to themselves. Um, so I guess it made sense, but
yeah.
again, we had Bailey kind of just like trapped, which is never a good feeling for her. So,
Hmm.
um, anyway, okay, so even though they got Hondo, right? So man, Reagan, let me try that again. I can't speak. Reagan managed to slip out by putting a wig on before leaving the hospital, and Shane and Butcher in the win too. So like they literally have 104. That's the score right now. Craziness. Um, and so as if Zuzu hasn't really been already involved enough, given the fact that he was the one to bring it to John's attention that Bailey was in the crosshairs of these people anyway. Zuzu calls John and tells him that he overheard a conversation between Reagan and General Pressman, who's a higher up in the DOG or DOJ. And obviously they're working together since we hear that Reagan's apologizing for failing the mission and like, you know, that they couldn't get it done. Um, and I don't really understand how they're able to have like a, well, I guess it is just like a three-way call, but it was like so weird though, because Zuzu started talking when John, like, talking just right to Wesley,
Yeah.
when John was on the phone with him. Anyway, but yeah, so Nolan calls Wesley and asks if they can use an AI's help in this. And basically, like, the gist of it is that yes, sure, in this emergency instance, but Wesley's like, it wouldn't really stand up in court. Um, but John doesn't really care about anything else. He just wants to protect Bailey. So he takes the chance and takes Zuzu's info for what it is. So they'll kind of, well, he uses that. Eventually, it gets back to Nyla and Garza, who are back at the station questioning Hondo, telling him that, they've got him on conspiracy since they recorded the conversation in the parking garage, which they play back for him. And they know about the connection with Pressman. Um, but he's not talking without a lawyer, so he's a dead end, which you could kind of see it was like evident, at least more on Nyla's face anyway. She was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, damn, I thought this guy was gonna crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, but not all is lost. They're still, going about this op. Selena's riding with John now as the new, like, code name Spy Games female lead. And they're trying to track down Reagan while the rest of the team hunts for Shane and Butch. Um, Miles and Nyla are riding together, and they help Chenford and John and Selena block in one of the suspect vehicles. Butch runs, but Penn catches him, and Nyla ends up arresting him. Um, I just always like it. Always kind of cracks me up to see everyone like run.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I thought it was going to be another one of those instances where, like, John was like severely lagging behind, and, like,
Yeah.
I mean, because, like, Lisette is only like so tall, so,
Right.
like, obviously, like, strides I'm assuming would have to be a little shorter, just,
Yeah.
like, given the height difference between, like, her and Nathan. Um, but, like, I mean, John was like holding his own, I guess, but, like, goodness, Derek can run,
Yeah.
like, which is perfect for Miles Penn, but, like, goodness. Um,
Well, he shows off the football skills, and
right.
I feel like Derek did football too, but
Hmm.
okay, so question or thought. Does
Hmm.
John lag behind all the other times, but because this time it affects Bailey, and so he's like, no, I need to be on top
Mm.
of my game?
Oh, yeah, probably. Because he was like keeping pace with everybody. Like, he really
Right.
was not um lagging. And actually got like ahead of Selena a bit. So
Yeah. Unless it was
um
just because it was like there wasn't many obstacles to overcome
yeah, that's true.
running,
Um
but
no, I mean, that's a good point. It probably, I mean, that was definitely probably like extra motivation
hmm
for him because of Bailey. I don't really think of that, but yeah,
I mean, not saying that that's the
probably so.
reason, but like it could be some of it.
Yeah.
Or it was just like, wasn't that far or something,
Hmm.
Like the
Yeah.
filming location was a little bit different, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how a museum was there. I don't know. I thought it was a park.
Yeah.
I was
No, I
like,
know.
okay.
It was like kind of crazy where they end up finding Reagan. Um, we do see that Shane was stopped by Chenford, even though he like threatened to fight them both and ruined Lucy's pretty face, and Tim wouldn't let that happen as the, best live-in boyfriend in the world that he is. Um, and like they kind of like shared a quick like look, like glance at each other, and then they ended up like both bringing out their tasers and tased him together. So
hmm
two more down, one to go still. Uh, John and Selena are tracking Reagan's movements, and they catch up to her at a dinosaur museum, telling everyone to clear out since Reagan has a weapon, which she initially draws on them, and vice versa. Um, Nolan and Juarez convince Reagan to put the gun down and be the one to make the deal, because obviously Hondo didn't talk earlier, um, which she does. So she's now in custody too, so all the suspects are accounted for. Um, back at the hospital, we see Wade meet up with Luna again, this time telling her that, if she really thinks that some of the blame for everything falls on him, then they should like really talk about that sometime. Because he's not ready to give up on them. Yay for Luna.
Yeah.
um, but not right at this moment because he's exhausted. Um, so Luna agrees. So I'm taking that as a sign that there's hope for them. Um, yeah, because even though we didn't really see, like you had mentioned earlier, like a long conversation um with them either time, hopefully a good sign. Hopefully we'll get more momentum with them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I just wonder when, because I don't think it'll
yeah,
happen next episode.
hmm
But then again, I don't know. They've only been giving Wuna like little moments here and there, so maybe.
yeah,
Um, but I think I don't know because we have to wrap up the uh race for DA too. So, and
yeah.
we're already in what, episode
12.
12?
Yeah, so 13 will be.
Yeah. So there's
Yeah,
only like 5 episodes left of the season, which is
yeah.
crazy.
hmm
We have some of these storylines to wrap up. Like, what about Oscar? Where's he at?
Right. Yeah.
I tweeted at one point and then I deleted it or didn't tweet it out, but I was like, what if Oscar was Zuzu?
Yeah. Well, like, I kind of thought it was like a person when they were like when they were on the phone with Wesley and John and was like, I feel like,
Hmm.
I want to, like help
Yeah.
my, friends. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Hmm.
like you're a bot. Like, you're not supposed to have feelings.
Right.
Um, I felt like I was like listening to one of those like science fiction novels or something,
Yeah.
where the bots kind of become pseudo humans and like develop feelings. Um, but then there's the whole like Indonesian police thing at
Hmm.
the end of the episode too. So I'm like, did that actually mean like Zuzu saw the police? In which case, are they an actual person? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Because it kind
Yeah,
of sounded like a story someone would tell.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then the Indonesian police, okay, so then maybe it really is an AI, but like how did they get how were they aware of John Nolan, like specifically? I don't know. I thought it
Yeah.
was Oscar because he kept calling Nolan.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's not calling anyone else, but then he ended up calling Angela, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It seemed weird. And then some of the time when he was talking to him, it seemed like he really knew Nolan. Then at one point when Nolan was back in the car with Selena, Zuzu called and he was like, I'm glad to see that you're back in the police car. And we're just like not questioning how he knows that John is back in the
Yeah.
cop car.
That's true.
Like he's calling his cell phone. I don't know. It's
Right.
weird. And I'm glad that it's over. But I
Yeah.
have just feel like I have so many unanswered questions. Like, what was the point if we're
Yeah.
not going to find out who Zuzu is or like really what's behind it, anything like that?
hmm
I don't know.
Yeah. Especially since like when Zuzu called them that last time, like whatever you want to call it, like
Yeah.
gave up that like last tidbit of the phone call with like Pressman and whoever, like to, eliminate Reagan next. So it was like, and they used that to help like get her to come in. So it's like
Hmm.
Zuzu kept helping them, like knowing that they're the police.
Yeah.
So
But then
like I
was
don't,
like the Indonesian police have came in and raided my files.
yeah,
It just does not make any sense.
yeah, yeah,
But Zuzu came in clutch by interrupting a Balin kiss, so
right,
I
totally
mean,
at the
not
very end.
really, because they ended up still kissing, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But anyway, okay, so towards the end of the episode, we have Chenford at home. Tim's like icing his face with a beer, I would assume.
Yeah.
And Lucy's on the couch with him. he's telling her that, the day's events made him miss being out on the field, whereas now he's stuck behind a desk most of the time as watch commander. Lucy tells him, that it's his job, screw tradition. He can do his job from the shop if he wants. And then, of course, we get like a cute Chenford kiss moment, which was
Hmm.
so nice. And like, it was kind of cut short a little bit because, like, you saw like Lucy, obviously Tim has like a busted up face now. And
Yeah.
like, so it was like, she was like kissing like each side, like, and then like they went in for like a regular kiss or whatever. But like, and we saw it, but like didn't see like the
Yeah.
continuation, so I
Yeah.
felt like there was more there.
Yeah.
But we cut over to Balin, which like not like there's anything wrong with that, but like I feel like the last couple episodes have ended with Balin as well, and not like
Yeah.
ended on another couple.
In some way,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So we have Balin back at their house, and Bailey, admits that she's like wanting to come home and not continue with the DC job. Um, even though, she says that John would say, I told you so. Um, John doesn't say that, but he's more than happy that Bailey wants to come home. He's happy to have her there. Um, and like Jennifer said, they go to kiss when Zuzu interrupts calling, acknowledging that, they're both safe. So basically his job is done here, which works out considering the Indonesian police had raided his place for the files that he had. And he kind of like cuts out and shuts down,
Hmm.
which effectively ends the communication with Balin. So they kind of comment on Zuzu being, like their um, AI bot, and then they end up like finishing the kiss that they were going to start before Zuzu called. So
Yeah.
there's that. And that's where it
Yeah.
ends for them anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't I'm glad that Zuzu called and like, kind of like wished them well or whatever in a way, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I'm glad that like we find out that Bailey's coming back, like she's not, gonna continue with the DC job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm just kind of like, okay, that's it,
Because
that.
like you called it though, like from the second you saw her in that tiny office, you were like, "There's no way
And yeah,
she
no,
can like survive just
no.
staying there."
And then when she
So
said that, like to John, she was like, when I was in my office, I said to myself, like watching it, I'm like, oh, your closet of an office? Like, there's no way that anyone's happy working in that space.
yeah.
But I'm sure that there are because there's a job for everyone. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the Chenford stuff, because oh my God, they're just so cute. And I'm
Right.
so glad that we're like getting just little snippets of them. I know that I saw people saying like, I wish that we had like longer Chenford scenes, like more of an episode for them. And I'm like, I get that, but like, listen, I'm just happy to get any Chenford scene.
Yeah.
Like, they could be watching TV together and I would not care. Like, just
Yeah.
give me something. But I love how she called herself Tim's honey bunny.
Oh, right. Yeah. She was like, and you got to tase someone with your honey bunny. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cute.
And then she was like, what? You're like hanging out with your peeps all day. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what? Like it's I don't know. I know not everyone celebrates Easter, but like to me that was like spring Easter like
I
vibes. And I was
didn't
like,
even think of that.
that's like all that I could think about. I don't know why, but I was just like, okay.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, honestly, like their couch should just have like a credit at this point because like all of
yeah.
their scenes have been on their well,
Uh-huh.
yeah, in their living room on the couch,
Yeah.
basically. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like it was like fine. Honestly, I was more invested in the Lopez stuff, which you'll like talk about
Same.
now. But like, because like it was just like a recap of the op, Zuzu,
Mm-hmm.
more of the op, Zuzu,
Yeah.
finishing the op, Zuzu.
Yeah.
Like that was it.
Yeah, it felt very formulaic with that storyline.
Yeah.
Which it kind of did with the Lopez of it too, but like we were flashing back and forth.
Mhm.
Um, so with that, we'll just start off with Lopez. So Wesley is sitting down with an interviewer, Maria Herrera, and we're finding out that we're 2 days away from the election, which in the rookie timeline could be 2 weeks for us. Who knows? I mean, I hope not,
So true.
because there's been articles about Sean like talking about like the twist in the election and so
Right,
I'm
yeah,
like,
just how the campaign's going. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm like, okay, can we not wait like another 3, 4 weeks for this? Like we don't have time. We need to wrap it up.
right.
So we find out that he's way behind in the polls, like no shock there because he's failed to prosecute Liam Glasser, and then the shocking bombshell allegations that happened that day. And we don't really know what happens there, but the interviewer assumes that he's desperate to do some damage control. But Wesley's like, no, and he's remaining calm, cool, and collected. And so he wants to set the record straight. The accusations leveled against him required an immediate and vehement denial. And so she wants him to walk her through the day, and we get a flashback to the morning. Um, so Lopez is in the car with his campaign manager, looking fierce, might I add. Like,
Right.
my God, I love this power couple. And so she mentions that it's time to take the gloves off, and Wesley turns around and he's like, I'm not okay with that. I don't want to play games with all this. Like, I want to be as honest as possible. And the campaign manager is like, I appreciate that you consider yourself to be a man of integrity, but that's not enough to win. And Vivian's not pulling her punches. And so the campaign manager wants Angela to back her up, and Angela's just like so like enthralled with this sting that they're working on. And
Yeah.
she's like, sorry, like I just wish that I was there. And Wesley's like, I honestly don't blame you. I would rather be doing anything else than this. So we find out that they're making campaign stops, and Angela just wishes that they could tell the voters that Vivian colluded with the serial killer to get another serial killer free and that she's a monster.
Mhm.
But they'd end up getting sued for slander and would reek of Wesley trying to blame Vivian for his own failures. But they can go after Vivian in other ways. So the campaign manager says that their Oppo people have procured a video of her being highly abusive to her staff. And so he mentioned I love that Wesley like kind of went into lawyer mode for a minute, and he's like, procured sounds like a code word for stolen. And Angela's like, I can't imagine a video of Vivian being a mean girl will do anything to close the gap. And Wesley's like, listen, if I'm going to lose the election, I'd much rather go down talking about the actual issues than trying to outdo Vivian. So we go back to the interview. I like how they did it, where they were like kind of cutting up the interview and like doing flashbacks of the day. So we go back to the interview. Wesley mentions that he spoke to several senior groups about the need to fund additional drug diversion programs instead of prisons to combat addictions. So Maria Herrera, the interviewer, backs up asking what brought him to the courthouse. And he says that it was a time sensitive court filing. At least that's what he was told. So we see him back in the car on the phone, and he's adamant that he's already signed it, but will stop by the courthouse again to sign off on it. So they pull up. Angela immediately notices something's off, and Wesley's like, it's fine, I'm sure. I'll be back in like 10 minutes, maybe like 15 at the most. And as he's walking up the steps, Elijah Stone is brought out of the courthouse. And one, I love that we got to see the front of the courthouse. It gave me like Law and Order SVU vibes, or just Law and Order
Yeah.
vibes, because they do
Yeah.
that. Um, but not as like serious. So Angela sees this, gets out of the car, walking up to Wesley, and Elijah announces who Wesley is because he's got like a press conference there. And Elijah just mentions that he's been following Wesley's campaign closely and says he's been lying. But Wesley's like, no, I've been very open about our past dealings and I welcome any questions that still need to be asked. And Elijah even mentions that Wesley hasn't mentioned someone else he had intimate dealings with.
Mm.
And Wesley is confused, but Elijah drops Monica's name. And so he gives more insight to the press about who Monica is, the fact that she was on the FBI most wanted list. And apparently she was the woman Wesley was cheating on Angela with the whole time they worked together, Wesley and Elijah,
Mhm.
according to Elijah.
Yeah.
So The interviewer then asks how Wesley came to work for Elijah, and so he goes into detail. I was actually like my jaw was on the ground. Wesley had said 5 years ago, Angela was violently kidnapped during their wedding, and a police officer was murdered during the abduction, and just how Sean portrayed that, amazing. Because
Yeah, because
I
it wasn't so
felt,
much like reflective as it was like somber.
yeah, yeah. And Angela was pregnant with their first child, mentioning it was easily the most desperate like he's ever been in his life, and saying he would have done anything to have his wife and child safe, including working for Elijah. I can't believe that was 5 years ago. I mean, obviously, but like I can't believe that.
No, I can't either, to be honest.
That's crazy. That means like Jack is 4.5, maybe 5, if not 5. Like
Holy cow. Yep.
that's nuts.
Hmm.
Nuts. So Wesley says he made a deal with the devil to save his family and he came to collect. And so when the interviewer asks how he could know that not working with him would asked how he could know that not working with Elijah would hurt the ones that Wesley loved. Wesley is like, Elijah told me and I believed him. And so the interviewer turns it back around and she's like, so you believed it then, but now you don't want voters to believe that Elijah like is correct about the affair with Monica. And
Hmm.
Wesley's like, right. Like it sounds counterproductive, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's like,
So
that's what I'm going with.
yeah, yeah. So the interviewer asks why Elijah would make such a claim, and we go back to the car ride with the campaign manager, and she's like, "Is there any merit to this?" And Angela's annoyed and speaks up, but the campaign manager suggests talking privately to Wesley and Lopez. I just love that they both like look back at her, like, "Who do
Hmm.
you think you are?" Like, no, we're in
Right.
this together. So.
Yeah.
Angela knows that Vivian put Elijah up to this, and he saw an opportunity to ruin Wesley's life like Wes ruined his. Questioning how Elijah could end up at the courthouse the exact moment Wesley was sent there. So
Right.
people are buying into Elijah's accusations. So now that they need to issue a denial, but it can't just be a statement. They need something taped. Better yet, an interview. So that's when this interview then comes up with that Maria Herrera. So Angela asks about Vivian and what they're going to do to stop her from walking all over them, and when it's time to start throwing some elbows. The queen
Right.
she is. I mean, truly. Like she does not mess
Yeah.
around when it comes to Wesley. They don't mess around when it comes to either like each other. And I
Right.
just love that. Um
Yeah.
so Wesley proposes getting Monica to issue a statement denying the affair, but he can't be the one to make the call. So Angela has to, which we all know Angela is just like giddy with excitement over this.
Yeah.
So Angela calls Nyla because, at this point, like it's just Angela sitting in the car and she's like, have you seen the news? And, saying that it's one of Vivian's dirty tricks and Wesley would never. Before they hang up, Angela's like, there's only one person who can shut this down. And then Monica gets in the car and she's smug about it, saying that she hasn't seen the news, wondering if something's happened. So Angela tells her what's going on. And I honestly couldn't tell if Monica was shocked too, or like if she knows what's going on because she
Mm-hmm.
played it very well.
Very true. Yeah.
It seemed like she didn't know what was going on, but I'm like, how could you not be watching the news? I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So Angela tells her that they need Monica to release a statement confirming as much. And so Monica's like, well, what's in it for me? Of course, Monica's always looking out for herself. So
Right.
Angela's like, I'll owe you one. And Monica's like, that's not compelling enough. What about cracking open that trust fund and, buying me a little place on the beach?
Yeah.
Okay, Wesley, how loaded is he? Because honestly, like everyone just wanted to crack open his trust fund except for him. And I feel like he's just like,
So
you
true.
guys think that I'm like rich, and I am rich, but I'm not that rich, you know?
Yeah.
So, um, So Angela immediately turns that down and says that there's a lot of bad guys out there still holding a grudge against Monica. And some still, she needs more friends and fewer enemies. So Monica's like,
Yeah.
I would be happy to make a statement, but only if Wesley asks me. Um,
Listen, I'm surprised she just got in the car. Can I just say that?
Same.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
surprised she took the damn meeting in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see Wesley start the interview, and Maria Herrera, says she's not known for going easy on her guest. And I was confused why we were getting the start of the interview again.
Hmm.
But I was like,
I
okay,
guess just to like tie it all together.
yeah, yeah. So then Angela gets a call, and where it would normally say the phone number, it just says pick up. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's Zuzu.
Yeah.
So he says Wesley is too principled to accept his help or Zuzu's help. And so they think that Angela is more mercenary and more open to what they're offering. They sent her an untraceable link, and it's everything she needs to destroy Vivian. So we see Wesley meet with Monica, and he calls her out on her punctuality, saying, like, you would think for an ex-lawyer, like, you would be more punctual. And so
Right.
she argues why she has to be on time to meet with him when he's just a desperate ex-lover who needs a favor. And I'm like, oh, she really just like dug that in
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
So he says even she has to know about the accusation from Elijah was wrong, but Monica reminds him that he is a cheater. And so we're reminded that he cheated on her when they were in a relationship together. And he tells her that instead of having a mature conversation about separating, like, he just went ahead and made different decisions. And so she's
Right.
like, contrary to what you may believe, I do have feelings, believe it or not. And he knows that he doesn't deserve her help, but he's asking anyway. I wish this entire scene had more lighting so that we could
Hmm.
we saw their expressions and their faces and everything well, but I just wish that
Hmm.
it was more well lit, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Just because I feel like they both acted and they both portrayed it so well. The hurt,
Yeah.
the shame, just the yeah, just the hurt. I loved it.
Yeah.
Um So then she asks for him to throw in an Aston Martin to sweeten the deal. And when he doesn't respond, she gets up and he stops her and asks if that was a yes. And she's like, "You'll just have to wait and see."
Yeah.
Monica's leaving us on our toes here. And
Yeah.
so Angela and Nyla are sitting on the couch. They're looking at the files and Angela was given. And they talk about why Zuzu has resurfaced all of a sudden. And so the real question is should Angela use it? And Nyla's in the camp that she deserves it. Vivian deserves it. It's all true. They agree that if Vivian becomes DA, it will be disastrous for the city. But Nyla thinks that she should take the high road. And Angela's tired of rising above. Girl, same. I feel like a lot of us are just tired of being like the bigger person. Um,
Right.
but she ends up deleting the files. And Angela's just like, can we curse out Vivian in the privacy of my own home? And
Hmm.
I loved how Nyla was like, yeah, but we'll probably run out of curse words.
Right.
So Wesley then comes home, shows them Monica's statement. She denies having an affair with Wesley Evers and says she would never have a relationship with a married man. And she says she knows the pain of having the one you love break your heart, and she wouldn't wish that on her worst enemy. So, and you can see Wesley feels bad too, because he knows that
Hmm.
that's about him.
Yeah.
Um, so Nyla adds that, no, Monica would just have them quietly taken out. And Monica then says in the statement, voters should all ask themselves who stands to gain the most from this lie. Vivian, and Angela and Nyla are just shocked and look at Wesley. So Monica's on Wesley's side and just threw Elijah to the wolves, basically,
Right.
which we'd love to see. But I feel like Monica's had a huge change of heart just because of all of the FBI stuff that she's been working on them with.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell with her. because she
It
plays
really
both
is.
sides. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about it for this episode, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any other thoughts,
I don't
really.
either. It was a good one. I
Yeah,
mean, do I think it was the best episode of the season? No, but it was a good one. And we got more, like,
right.
more focus on the Wesley, like,
Hmm.
DA election, which was much needed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Well, with that, you guys can find us on Twitter at the Shop Talk Pod underscore or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with all of your thoughts. And you can find us individually on Twitter as well. I'm at Carrie Hyman.
and I'm at JStark804.
We are on TikTok at the Shop Talk Podcast underscore. And we also have merch at shop-talk.dashery.com. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And we'll be back next week with our recap of 813, which, holy cow, 5 episodes left. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so if there's 5 episodes left and they haven't taken a break yet, we know that they're not going to be taking a break. Let's
right.
figure out the finale date. So next week is 8/13, 14, 15,
Hmm.
16, 17. Okay, so the finale will be like first week of May.
Yeah.
Crazy, because we're already into April next week.
Yeah. Well, that's hard to believe,
Yeah, that
honestly.
is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We're starting to think of some hiatus episodes too. So
Hmm.
that'll be fun. While
Yep.
we
We are
while
trying
we
to be prepared.
patiently wait for the season 9 renewal.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
They have to be renewed. But the rookie's like always the last one because I've seen other
That's true.
ABC shows get picked up. So,
That is
yeah.
true. Yeah.
But yeah, but
So,
next week we'll be back with a regular schedule. So,
yes, our episode will be released on Wednesday and it'll be a recap of 813. So,
yeah.
we will talk to you guys then.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Go get him, boo.